If you say sorry 10 times a day, this probably isn't about manners anymore. Sorry for asking, sorry for texting, sorry for needing help, sorry for being emotional, sorry for taking too long, sorry for being here. At some point, it stops sounding like politeness. It starts sounding like a person trying to make their own existence easier for everyone else to tolerate. And that is a very different thing, because some people apologize for mistakes. You might be apologizing for having needs, for taking up space, for wanting reassurance, for having a preference, for needing rest, for being visibly human. If that hits something in you, stay with me, because this pattern usually goes deeper than confidence tips and communication hacks. This is not just you need to stop saying sorry so much. This is often shame in a polite voice, and if you don't understand that, you'll keep trying to fix the words while the wound underneath keeps running your life. A lot of people with this pattern do not look fragile. They look thoughtful, capable, self-aware, easy to be around. They are often the person who notices everything, the person who smooths things over, the person who makes other people comfortable. And so it's exactly why this gets missed. No one sees the invisible labor, the text you rewrite 5 times, the panic after expressing a small need, the way your chest tightens when attention lands on you, the immediate urge to soften, explain, backtrack, make yourself easier. You are not just talking, you are managing your impact. And after a while, you start assuming this is just your personality. Maybe you're too sensitive, maybe you're awkward, maybe you're intense, maybe you're just one of those people who overthink everything. But a lot of the time, the real story is simpler and sadder. At some point, your body learned that needing things made life harder. Not always because someone was openly cruel. Sometimes it was quieter than that. The sigh, the eye roll, the cold tone, the emotional withdrawal. The way the room changed when your feelings entered it too. Maybe nobody ever said you're a burden, but your nervous system still got the message. Maybe nobody said you're too much, but you learned that being easy was safer than being real. And once a child learns that, apology becomes strategy, not a social strategy, a survival strategy, a way to soften your existence before someone else can punish it. That is why this kind of apology is so strange when you really listen to it. You are not apologizing for harm. You are apologizing for impact, for being seen, for having weight, for needing space in the room. You ask for water and say sorry. You ask a question at work and say sorry first. Someone offers help and your first instinct is, no, it's okay, I don't want to be a burden. You send a perfectly normal message and then wonder if you sounded annoying. Sorry for what? For having a throat? For being thirsty? For existing in a body with ordinary needs? That is not guilt. That is preemptive shame. You are trying to get ahead of rejection before it arrives. You are trying to prove you are low maintenance, reasonable, easy to love, easy to carry, easy to forgive. You are trying to make sure nobody has to tell you that you are inconvenient, so you tell yourself first. And here's the trap. Sometimes the world rewards this. People call you sweet, selfless, mature, so easygoing, so understanding. But what they are often rewarding is the version of you that asks for almost nothing. The version that translates pain into politeness. The version that says, it's okay before you've even checked whether it is. The version that disappears before becoming difficult. And if you were loved more for being convenient than for being real, of course apology starts to feel like the price of connection. This is one reason emotional neglect is so hard to name. It does not always leave a dramatic story. Sometimes it leaves absences. No one noticing, no one asking, no one helping you make sense of what you felt. So you learn to handle everything alone, then eventually you learn something even more damaging. You learn to feel embarrassed for needing anything at all. That is when the inside apology starts. Sorry for being tired, sorry for crying, sorry for wanting reassurance, sorry for being weird, sorry for needing more than this, sorry for not being easier to love. If you live like this long enough, it stops feeling like a pattern. It starts feeling like reality. You no longer think, I have shame. You think, I am the problem. That shift is brutal. Because once shame fuses with identity, even normal self-expression can feel dangerous. Now asking feels selfish, having boundaries feels mean, being visible feels risky, having a preference feels high maintenance. And the body believes all of it. That is why stopping the apology can feel weirdly unsafe. Not because it is unsafe now, because once in some form it was. Your system linked visibility with tension, needs with disapproval, honesty with friction. So the apology has a job. It is trying to keep you safe. The problem is it keeps you safe by teaching you to disappear. And over time that costs more than it saves. It costs clarity. People do not know what you want. They do not know when something hurts you. They do not know where your edges are. Sometimes they do not even know who you are. It costs intimacy too. Because real closeness cannot happen with a constantly edited self. Not the polished self. Not the pre-softened self. Not the self that checks every sentence for danger before letting it out. The connection may look peaceful, but it is not honest. And eventually it costs dignity. Not because apologizing makes you weak, but because constantly asking permission to exist will slowly disconnect you from your own solidity. You start to feel like a guest in every room, even in your own life. So what actually helps? Not forcing yourself to become bold overnight. That usually turns into another performance. You start smaller than that. You start by catching the moment right before the apology. That little flash matters. The chest tightens. The shame rises. The urge to explain shows up. The instinct to make yourself harmless kicks in. Catch that moment. Not to judge it, just to notice it. Then ask one question. Did I actually do something wrong? Not, did I inconvenience someone? Not, did they maybe feel something weird? Not, could I have been less visible? Did I actually do something wrong? Emotionele I woedsenheid I woedsenaud is the you felt something, you took up a normal human amount of space. That is not harm. The next step is simple but not easy. Replace some apologies with truth. Instead of, sorry for bothering you, try, do you have a minute? Instead of, sorry I'm being emotional, try, this hit me harder than I expected. Instead of, sorry for asking, try, can you help me with something? At first this can feel rude, it can feel cold, it can feel like you are becoming selfish. You are not. You are just speaking without kneeling first. As we're some for self and an Osaville, who benefits from your chronic apology? Safe people do not need you to shrink in order to love you. They do not punish your needs. They do not become warmer when you erase yourself. They do not require you to be endlessly easy. Unsafe people often love how little you ask for. They love how quickly you fold, how fast you forgive, how gently you disappear. As one role said Pat, emanated time shifts start making more sense. Maybe what you called niceness was sometimes fear with good manners. Maybe what you called maturity was sometimes hypervigilance. Maybe what you called being easy was self-abandonment in soft language. That realization hurts, but it also sets something free. Because now the goal is no longer become more likable. Now the goal becomes stop treating my humanity like an inconvenience. That is a different kind of healing. It is quieter than people think. It may look like not cushioning every request, letting a silence exist without scrambling, not over-explaining your boundary, letting someone be mildly disappointed without collapsing into shame, allowing your needs to be ordinary. That is real progress, not dramatic, but real. Because you were never supposed to spend your life auditioning for the right to exist. You do not have to be the least needy person in the room to deserve love. You do not have to be effortless to deserve care. You do not have to apologize every time your existence becomes visible. And if flowed harder to my life, it has so istad kawaii said, it mas till as still learning that life can hold a version of you that does not shrink before it speaks. As pattern lives in you, start here. Notice the apology, pause before it, tell the truth instead, not perfectly, just honestly. That is enough for now. And if this channel keeps putting words to patterns you thought were just your personality, stay with me. We are only getting started.